Okay. John, Mr. Kisko's favorite.
Fine.
Oversight panel for THS. That's ours. Okay. Would you like to go? Describe it.
Only to say that the high school needs a close look. I don't think anybody would disagree with that. If they do, they're welcome to say so. And we've heard a lot about the high school. Tonight, there are many meetings where we don't hear as much about the high school probably as we should. High school is the final chance we have to get at kids, and we sort of sign them off at the high school. That's where we put our signature on that. And it just seems like we probably should take a comprehensive look at the high school, starting in research terms with our primary sources, starting not with what we hear or what we think we know, but starting with talking to students, talking to teachers, talking to administrators, etc., and see. And then if things are fine, well, then we'll find that out. We'll know that. If they aren't, we have the beginning of being able to deal with it and help things. That's just where I am.
Yep, the thought process behind this was to get it out to the board for input as we move forward. If the board feels we should set up an oversight panel, almost like a board of directors, I guess it would be, of the high school to evaluate a few things and look through, current programming, future programming. I know we're doing a lot of that at the school improvement committee. It's open for anyone's discussion.
I'm in full support of doing something like this, not more necessarily to look at what we're offering. Are we doing everything that we can possibly be doing? Are we providing the high school with the resources needed? We all know that each year in the budget, the high school has taken some serious hits, and I have concerns for our next BS visit, and I think it's an appropriate time to start the evaluation now and not when BS is here.
We're also open to suggestions on the structure and members that would be required to be on this oversight
This
panel.
is where your task force idea from a few meetings ago makes a lot of sense to me. Special committee designed for this purpose, an ad hoc committee designed for this purpose. You do it, and then afterwards, you present your report.
Yep.
And where the board wants to go is up to the board, but that committee's work is done.
We have included in the packet different ways. It's titled involving parents, but it could be an approach because this ad hoc committee should include board, administration, community members, and with that, families.
Absolutely everybody should be on this board. Everybody who has some stake in the high school, which is everybody.
So
It's a
that's,
big board.
It will be. Well, there'll be a lot of people involved if we actually do what we're looking at now. There will be a lot of people who have involvement for at least whatever their part is.
Well, it goes to the groups. I mean, the technology group was what, 13? 11 or 13 people? And the wellness one is 10. So, I mean, it's going to be a big group, so.
this would look like our alternative board committee we had.
Design team?
The design team for the alternative education program.
Mr. Kisko, would you like to head that committee, or would you like to pass that on or not to?
I'd be willing to do it, yeah. I realize there is this danger in proposing something.
There is an inherent responsibility.
But, yeah, I would like to do that. I'd like to talk to the executive committee of the board.
Okay.
Get some more clarity about what exactly we want to do.
Yep. Does the board support setting up an oversight panel to look at where we're headed and where?
My only concern or question with it, when I hear panel, I think a certain number of people. but you had said more of surveying people also. I would just hope that we're not just looking at a certain number of people and that's what's gonna make this up, because then you get personal views
No,
and
what
not
I'm looking at is
everybody's views.
a small group that would oversee involving everybody.
Okay, and like actually going out and talking to all these different people.
And if anyone wants to volunteer, they're welcome to join us. This is not a secret cabal, not the way I see it.
And I would suggest one possible framework would be one that Mrs. Capabianca alluded to, and that would be to look at the same criteria that the NEAS, the New England Association of School and College Accreditation, looks at, because that does break, it gives you a framework to break things into instruction, curriculum, facilities, school culture, leadership, vision and mission. It gives you sort of those general baskets of topics to look at. And we will be involved in working on a self-study in advance of the next cycle too, so that would be helpful information to begin to collect.
Went through 4 of those, familiar with the format.
Yeah, I'd like to make a motion to approve pending one thing though, that at the next board meeting, we have a clearly defined, I don't know if you call it a mission statement, but there needs to be clearly defined scope of what, you know, what you're going to do, what you're not going to do, what, you know, what the, you know, what it is, you know what I'm saying, John?
So succinct, but yes, it will.
Yeah, well, no, keep it succinct, but it's got to be specific too, Jim. You know, I mean, it's got to be targeted so that you're gonna, if you do this right, you're gonna be making a lot of people uncomfortable, you know, and they need to know that there are certain boundaries here, because you're looking at sacred cows. I mean, that's what you're gonna be doing in part, you know. If this is to be useful to the board.
Wasn't there a book called Sacred Cows Make the Best Burgers or something?
In your dreams, no.
No, there was a book.
Only you would know that. Only you would know that.
Well, what we'll do for the next meeting, because this was just to get this ball started, we'll sit down and we'll map out, we'll sit down with John and map out, you know, a parameter and bring it back. for
Yeah,
everybody
okay,
to
so
look at.
I'll withdraw the motion and we'll just,
Okay.
make a motion to approve next meeting.
All right.
Yeah.
Okay, we have some work to do there. All right, special education questions and answers.
Dr. Robin is ill. She's been ill yesterday, actually since last week, and so she was not able to be here this evening. And so we've included, it's board's choice.
Does the board want to push until she's available, or do you want to? Yes. Are you all right with that, Andrew? Paul?
That's right.
Push this till
Yeah.
Beth Robbins can
Yeah.
make it?
One of the
Everybody all right
things
there?
we did include, though, in the packet you received, that Mr. Jocelyn handed it out, was the staffing for special education for the district. And also, no concern was the out-of-district and in-district coordinator. And those are also included in their performance responsibilities, is also included. And the other piece is, you know, when the concern about legal services, just exactly when we required legal services for special education.
I think one request I just actually formally made to the guy who did it. Could we get a similar snapshot from 10 years ago? I think that would be really, make a whole lot of points, especially as we start looking toward the budget cycle.
And can I
And start
also-
answering questions to the public about why are we spending so much money and where.
And the other piece too is to know that we started 3 new programs this year in district, so that we now have to pay out of district tuition and transportation. And that,
I would say for this discussion, if when Beth is available, we're looking at her group right now as to what it was, and I think that, as we approach budget, the sell to us of these programs that we're bringing in-house, the tuition costs we're saving, I know it started years ago, but,
we really did it more this past year. We're bringing 3 programs back in. And that's something that I asked Ms. Bouchel to do today, is to, let's take a look at, okay, maybe not this year, because what we were paying in tuition and transportation last year has gone into certified personnel. And so I want to be able to compare that as we move forward. Are we saving money by maintaining students in district? We know it's better for them, for their education, and their community and belonging, but we also have to look at the dollars and cents component.
So we will move that. Yes.
Question, I'm still confused about the use of the different attorney outside of the attorney that the board has. That, it was part of the special education.
It was one of the questions, yes.
Yeah, and the piece of when we use the attorney is in here, and how many litigations were already in place, and that's why we've been maintaining. We had several large litigations going on, which we successfully completed.
So we're only using the other law firm for cases that were already on it prior to the board making the decision to use the new law firm?
We were, and then this year we've added the 504 piece. So,
We without sharing too much, in the 504 section, there were some similarities with earlier cases that the other law firm has handled for the district, and having had that history is helping us in this current case. So that's the reason why we continued with that particular attorney.
And I guess I would like to just see how the rest of the board feels. My personal feeling, and I don't think you have your own feeling, but if we have selected and hired a specific law firm to represent us, my feeling as a board member is that all of our legal stuff is being done by this law firm that we as a board have voted on and agreed to use as our law firm. So I guess I'm looking at it from a procedural aspect. So if we vote on a specific law firm, does that still mean that anyone can go out and use whatever law firm they want? Or are we stuck with the law firm that we as a board have agreed to vote?
In what context are you talking? I mean, you've said this for the last several months, and I'm trying to figure out, are you specifically talking about just special ed? Or are you talking about, I have no idea what you're
When we went, we had a discussion to go with either an in-house lawyer
Right, I know that.
or a
And we
specific
hired-
law firm or multiple law firms. We as a board voted to go to one law firm that covered everything, an umbrella.
Right.
And the concern is, when we made that decision, administration has continued to use multiple law firms. So the question that Fiona has brought up several times is, why? If the board gave a directive to use one law firm, why are we continuing to work outside of the directive of the board? And she's looking for our input on that.
Our input, or why aren't we getting an answer from the
Well, we don't have
administration?
Beth Robbins here right now, and
Okay,
that's
so
all
you're
part
all-
of the special ed, moving it to December, because it's only in special ed that we're working outside of that. I think it would be fair to have her answer why she's doing what she's doing.
Well, does Beth work outside of the superintendent? She's the one making decisions, or she serves at her will, or she serves at the will of the superintendent? And if she serves at the will of the superintendent, then why don't you just address the superintendent why the special ed department is hiring attorneys outside of the board's attorney?
we're not hiring many.
Well-
They worked with one other attorney, not even multiple attorneys in the business, okay?
Okay.
The one major piece, which I think is important to the board, is that it's less expensive per hour than the major attorney firm that we go with. That's the first thing. The second thing is that this particular attorney was quite familiar with major legal litigations with families that we were in with special needs, children with special needs. And many times this litigation can continue over a number of years and be away for a year and come back. So you need somebody in these cases, because the children we can be responsible for children from the age 3 to 21. Children with special needs. That's our educational responsibility. So when a parent may bring litigation when their child is in elementary school, it may resurface again in middle school, it may resurface in high school, it may resurface when it's postgraduate years from 18 to 21. So that is you need somebody who's had history with the family, the concerns, the nature of the needs of the child. So that's why 2 years ago when it came up, Mr. Leone, Dr. Rodman at the time was given permission to remain, and because we were still in the midst of some litigation with families, I also last year said, yes, you can remain with this law firm. It's for continuity, it's for consistency, you need to have someone who not only knows the student, the family, Torrington Public Schools, but also knows their opponent, that is the attorney for the family or whoever we're in litigation with, and who also clearly understands the players at the State Department, because what happens is that all decisions for students with special ed come down to the State Department of Education deciding, do we go with the school district, have they done their due diligence, or are we lacking, and now you need to do this, this, and this for the child.
And you have a great explanation, but why did you not put it on for an action item for the board to vote on?
For tonight?
Well, I mean, at the time in which the board hired a specific board attorney, clearly having outside counsel, all you needed, or whoever, Mr. Leone, however that process originally started. I think that's what Fiona's talking about. It needs to come before the board as an action item and present your case of why we're going to have an exception. But clearly you know that the board has hired one attorney to represent the board. So, I'm not trying to evaluate you. I just think that from a procedural perspective, you should draw an action item presented to the board at the next meeting, or personnel first, and then present it to the full board. Would that satisfy what you're talking about?
Yeah, just to clarify, this started last year in budget. My strong belief is the board interviewed attorneys. We selected the attorney that we wanted to represent the board. So I was surprised at budget to see that we were still using other attorneys. And if it was ongoing prior cases, I understand that. But my belief was the board voted, we hired a specific law firm to represent us, and they should be representing us. And if that's not the case, then we need to look at that, but I don't think that it's a decision that should be made outside of the board when the board decided to go with one law firm.
Well, maybe a simpler solution. We did do the vote, and the administration has, instead of having the full board, just personally, from my point of view, I don't want to have to do that. But I think we have an executive committee, and I think we just make a modification to whatever the original thing that says when there's a need for exceptions to that policy or whatever, that initiative, the administration has to brings it before the board executives, and they will vote on approving or disapproving the exception to that clause. I'm comfortable letting these three decide it.
I'm totally opposed to what you're saying as far as letting the executive committee of the Board of Education make any decisions without the full board's voting and consent. I think that's something that we should be talking about as far as board goal 4. Clearly, in the last couple of weeks, the board has clearly, in the eyes of the public, raised a lot of issues, and it certainly raised a lot of issues with me in reviewing the bylaws that past practices have somehow circumvented our own bylaws, and we need to evaluate our own bylaws.
But can we get back onto the
Yeah,
topic
well,
of the
yeah,
attorney?
but I mean, he's making a suggestion to let the executive committee vote on. I don't know where in our bylaws we give the executive committee any authority to
Okay.
vote on anything like that.
Is it okay with the board if we have the superintendent and the director of special education, when they come forward in December to answer the rest of the questions and answers, bring us a evaluation of why they're doing what they're doing with the law firm? Is that acceptable to everybody? I mean, it's come to budget already once.
Saves money. I understand that.
Right.
There is a-
Right, but it's a procedural
Yeah.
issue. Is everybody all right with that?
Yeah, but my comment was, does the whole board really want to weigh in on this particular thing? Or do we feel that the three people we elected to represent us, you know, can use their common sense and say, here's an exception is worth, in this particular case, yes, go ahead and do it. I feel comfortable that it needs to be doing it.
Yes, Mr. Kissin.
I don't feel the need to be involved in every single decision that's made on this board. I think there are times when people are delegated to do it, they should do it.
Who delegated the administration can bypass the board's action, which was to hire a board attorney?
I don't think we ever made, well, maybe
Yes, we
we
did.
do, but I think we pretty well, I mean, we understand why this was done. I don't think they should have to run to us every time there might be a need to, I think finishing up with a case, what do you do? You switch attorney firms in
And
the
just
middle
present
of
it to the
litigation?
board.
All right.
But the board knew what was going on.
John, do you want to see a presentation to the board?
No.
Mr. Brady?
Not really.
Mr. Marola?
You said that they were gonna make a full presentation on special ed and this, so. are you-
Well,
okay.
well, I'm just talking about on the decision of the, on the legal decision.
I think they already made their case, and it was a compelling case, and I agree with that, I think that's perfectly all right.
Do you want to see a full presentation brought to the board on it, or?
If this is in fact just this one instance in this one department, and you've had prior cases that you're dealing with, I don't have an issue with that, that makes perfect sense. If it's just about money, I think there's something wrong with that, because the board didn't have a directive, but you've made your case, and I think that's perfectly fine.
Is that a yes or a no?
That's a no.
Okay.
I'd like to see something in writing from the director of special ed as to why it's going outside of the policy or directive of the board. It should be part of the agenda.
I would agree. You want to see it? Gail, you want to see it? Yeah? Andrew, you want to see it come to the full board?
Yes.
Paul?
No, I'm not, well, again, just to be clear, no, I'm not concerned with, no, I don't want to see this for the, you out there, I buy the explanation. I'm concerned more with how we're going to deal with this in the future.
Yeah.
That's what I want to get out of this discussion tonight.
All right. 5-4, we'll bring it to the December meeting.
All right.
That's a good presentation. Okay. Board of Education goals. We took the small list that we received, we manipulated it, twisted it, sat down with the superintendent to, if we have to marry our goals to the superintendent's evaluation goals, and have come up with a rough draft of 4. It doesn't have to be 4, it could be 2, it could be 3, whatever number that you would like to keep going with.
No.
It's after special
Almost there.
education.
Almost there.
Almost there, Paul. I'll find it, keep going.
There you go, it says draft right there. Okay. Board goal number 1 was a secondary education review and alignment. It's a comprehensive review of 6 through 12 curriculum, which has been ongoing in alignment with the Common Core standards, alignment of administrative duties 6 through 12, and alignment of scheduling and coursework, review of initiatives and programs to reduce grade 9 retentions, and the number of students at risk of dropping out of school. As has been mentioned several times tonight, this was a conversation I've been having. What I would like to see a 6 through 9 merger of our schools so that we can get more coursework pushed down into the middle school, more of a smoother transition from middle school to high school, kind of coordinate the scheduling, kind of make the schools match. So that, there isn't that big 8th to 9th grade jump. We don't have that kids falling behind in 9th grade. There's a lot of possible options in this as far as how administration is handled. But it was a goal that was one of mine. I've talked it over with Paul, like the goal, and we kind of, on the phone one night, sort of hammered this out.
Yeah, I agree with this. I think security should be there too, school security. I mean, I'm looking at this as, look at the problems at the high school. I mean, and what your ad hoc committee seems to me, you'll get the data that will feed this goal, And the way I understood Ken's explanation is, start looking at this, again, one long school system, and really start, this goes to, I can't say again, administration, contract negotiations, can I talk about it? But this goes back even further to last year's budget cycle, when several board members, including myself, asked for administrative functions and really identifying, and it just seems to me that not as a fault of this administration, but just as an evolution of the complexity of our school system. It seems to be one thing is this administrative duties and what their specific roles and assignments are has gotten so intertwined and overlapped, and that it's, looking at it from a managerial point of view, it's really hard to get a handle on any way of properly running this school system the way that we're doing it now, And the way to go about this, I think this is a huge board goal, is to drill down and really identify what the problems are. Curriculum part one, safety is part one, safety and security of kids, with all the issues we have in that area. Curriculum's another one, and literally start identifying, name the problems, prioritize them, then try to figure out where administrators, who is responsible, what is the response to these problems, and then who's going to own it at the administrative level, and literally putting that on a map. Putting it on a map, not naming names, naming positions, administrative positions that are going to handle this problem, who reports to whom, what the expectations are, and maybe I just haven't been hearing correctly, but I just don't think there is this system-wide analysis going on. We have so many other things going on, but I think we're at that point now in our system that we need this. We need this this is the work of, to me, the work of the board this year. Because anything we talk about in terms of curriculum, getting AP, all that stuff, none of it's going to matter if we continue to have security issues in our school. We continue to have things that we know what are going on that are detrimental to the educational process, where kids aren't comfortable, parents aren't comfortable, teachers aren't comfortable, everybody's at cross purposes. Can't happen. Nothing can matter. So I think that is, and that's where I think the parents going with realignment. I think it's tremendous thinking of this now as a 6 through 12 one system. I think we can start to find efficiencies. I think we can start to find a much more streamlined set of accountabilities. And I will shut up. I would put security there, and then literally board goal 3. I would eliminate that and make what's listed here in board goal 3 basically sort of subset of board goal 1. So you have one that I think the sustainable budget clearly justifies, and I think clearly the bylaws. That's a fairly straightforward one. Goal number 1, if you do it right, that's got goals within goals, and it's complex, and it needs to be done. I just think that is what is really driving us.
3 really is a build out on 1 if you do 1.
Yeah. And I think we eliminate, simplify this, and that way it makes it easier for us to control what are we doing about this? What are we really accomplishing over the course of the remainder of the school year?
Well, I think it's the same as the budget. I think most of our administrators have become firefighters. They're running around putting out fires, and we've had such, and I know many of the public will probably disagree with this, but we've had such a reduction in administration in the last 10 years. I mean, it's gone from roughly 40-something administrators to we're down to less than 20 at this point. That, did we cut too far? Have we lost control of the overall system. You have, you know, there was the recurring theme that when the kids go from the middle school to the high school, they feel lost. You know, one thought possibility was if they get a vice principal in 6th grade, they have that vice principal till they graduate. Have that vice principal, knows the kids, stays with the kids. You really are running one school with 2 campuses. And when they transition from one to the other, if they see a familiar face, they know the person knows them. You know, hey Fiona, why weren't you in health class today? You know, I happened to walk by and noticed you're not going anymore, or whatever. You know, it might lead to a better transition. That's for the professionals. So, you know, that was the thought process really behind it, and to expand a lot of our education down into the 6th, 7th, and 8th grade and tie that curriculum right to this, so you can get more of the AP classes in your junior year and the UConn classes in your junior and senior years. If we move some of that, you know, down and tie it all together.
Yes.
And I think what you've expressed here, is we're looking at systemic change.
Yes.
Big systemic change.
Yep.
And where we go from there, what would be the critical elements that we want, what strategies are we going to use? And we also, I think it's critical that we add the 3-year sustainable budget, because we can't do this kind of change without, as I think Mr. Cabanero, as you said earlier, without, you know, killing off the sacred cows in many instances. Our high school and middle school may not look like they do today.
Again, I know people are tired of hearing this, after 10 years, almost every single year, for you younger guys, almost every single year, you know, at some point, the administration makes a presentation about dropout rate or incidents of safety and discipline incident, and it always comes down to there's this disconnect between the middle school and the high school. There's a disconnect, there's a disconnect. And I'm just telling you, for 10 years, sitting in this seat or that seat or that, for 10 years, the boards have been trying to deal with the disconnect. And I think where Ken's going with this is, one way to deal with the disconnect is connect, you know? Think about it as one school,
I know it's complicated.
you know? Connect, and connect, you know, the functions that literally manage that one 6 through 12 school. So I'm a big fan of support where this is going. I think we got the right people to do it, and I think it's a good direction.
Any other comments, questions on overall?
We talk about,
Just one.
we're talking about secondary education review and realignment. I see nothing here about the lack of respect, disrespect that goes on in the high school and in the middle school towards students, to teachers, students to other students. And the upsetting thing is, it's not that it's just an isolated student who misbehaves, but it's the fact that these students are able to misbehave, and yet there is nothing, there is no change in procedure, there is nothing that the school itself is doing to change that climate. They say they're changing it, but I've been on the board 5 years. 5 years ago, it came to my attention that kids were smoking in the bathrooms, brought it up, we'll address it. Last couple of weeks, parents, teachers, kids are smoking in the bathrooms. Now, it's state law that you can't smoke in this building, in a public building. Why is that? Who do we hold accountable at the administrative level to get that done?
But that's what we're talking about here.
Where is it here?
Well, no,
Alignment of administrative duties,
We
and
didn't
that's
s-
specifically what we're trying to get at here.
And how do we?
That's a problem. What you're talking about is what I said, identify the problem. That's a problem. It's morale, it's safety. Identify those problems, okay? How do you go about addressing that? You know, what are the solutions? What administrator or set of administrators is going to own that problem?
And also then what process do you have within starting at the middle school when you look at how you handle discipline or problems that come up? so that you have a common practice, that if a student does this, they know these are the repercussions because they are responsible for their behavior. And you start it at the 6th grade level, and it continues through 12th grade.
But what are we gonna do to quantify it, and are we as a board willing to, at the end of the day, we as a board only deal with you. We don't deal with principals, we don't deal with anyone else, we deal with you. How do we, if we're gonna do this, we need to do it in such a manner as to lay it out to the superintendent, how we want the quality and the quantity of our goals to be administered, and
Well, the quantity we could do is we could do pre and post when we decide how we'll implement this whole discipline process, or how we put out what are the behavioral expectations for students in 6th through 12th grade, and make sure that both family, public, but especially the students know, and the practice, and it's implemented with fidelity by all the faculty. Okay, so and administration, but then we also have to maintain a record of all discipline problems that occur, or students who come down for discipline measures. So we would look, once everybody clearly, at least within the building, faculty, administration, and teachers have clear understanding of it, and it's implemented into practice, then we would look for over the course of time, a reduction in discipline issues.
Well, can I go?
Yeah.
If we can get, in terms of moving forward tonight and forward on the goals, I mean, what he's talking about is adding more detail to the goals. If we could vote tonight on just, approving 1, 2, and 4, so they therefore become 1, 2, and 3, right?
Yeah,
And then,
combine three.
unfortunately, guys, if we really need to do this, I think we need, Mr. Chairman, I think we need a special meeting in a couple of weeks, specifically an hour-and-a-half meeting, boom, to nail down the goals. At which point, the administration can come, with board executives, come forward with what specifically does that mean? I mean, to address your issues, what is it we're trying to accomplish here? What, with this goal, what are the targets for what we expect to be in June with this goal? What is the mapping that we want to see, Actually, quite frankly, it should be in March, it should be by April, by budget, but whatever, you know what I'm saying?
but we need to have input from the superintendent on issues where she needs to lay out to the board and to the public that there's things going on at the state level, the federal level, legislators that are literally, no matter what type of board goals we have, we cannot accomplish our board goals because court system's kicking the kids back saying, don't even bother to arrest these kids, but the public needs to know it. Public should get upset, should be talking to our legislator. And if you're not, if the superintendent is, as the only person that we directly talk to, doesn't want to get involved in that type of political arena, then we need to evaluate how we as a board get that message so as to have our school system evolve.
Part of the 3-year sustainable budget, Andrew, is to set up, we know we have 3-year contracts right now.
Right.
So we can project what it is, essentially, assuming a fuel increase, assuming what our salary increases will be. Any legislation that comes down that has a direct impact on us as a district will be a red flag, because you'll be able to say, all right, we projected $69 million for next year, and then there's legislation passed and we're at $74 million. Because that legislation just cost the city of Torrington $5 million. That's part of the reason for having the 3-year on the budget side. As far as on the discipline or the, I don't know if I want to use it, placement of children issue, we try to move a child and they move them back, then that's something that, we'll be able to identify on the moral side of it versus the financial side.
An example, Mr. Nargi, about the piece of what's happening with the education reform. One of the pieces that has been brought to you is the new teacher evaluation Mrs. Monaco did a presentation on that over a couple of meetings. And what's happened is that we could be expected to do 6 observations, formal observations with all teachers. When we look at that an elementary principal has about 40 teachers in their building to evaluate. You do a pre-conference, a pre-meeting in the fall to set the goal. Then you have your 6 observations. Then you have a mid-year meeting and a final summative evaluation at the end of the year. That's 8 hours times 40 teachers, and you'll find that for next year, then a principal will spend most of their school day, because when we did it out, it was over 800 hours of just supervision and observation. And there's 960 hours of school days. How is the principal going to deal with management, discipline, and all the other things that they're dealing with? So if you want to talk about something that the state is requesting of school districts to do and carry out, it's almost impossible. You have to look at extending the school day, but that becomes a contractual issue. I mean, there are more things that are out there that are going to impact how we operate and manage this school district that will have high budgetary impact, plus or minus.
The issue I'm talking about is when the courts are telling the school district, don't, or the prosecutors telling the school district, do not press to have that child prosecuted, because we're not going to prosecute that kid. We need to expose that there's a prosecutor out there potentially who is not going to enforce the legislative intent of our laws. Maybe he has a rationale for it, maybe he doesn't, but we as a board cannot continue on to have kids not be brought to the court system because we know it's futile and it's a waste of resources because the court system's kicking the kids back.
And we have to educate them.
How does that,
Educate who, the prosecutor?
No,
Well, how
I'm
does
saying
that
we
tie-
have to, we're responsible for educating
how does that tie into
students.
this goal? I
What?
mean, us taking on a prosecutor, I don't know
Well,
how
maybe
that's
that
gonna
should
tie
be
into
our
this
goal. Maybe it's time that somebody takes on people outside of this room who are having the direct impact of why we can't get anything accomplished. Or, not any, I mean, that's the wrong word, but why we have problem kids who we will keep in the school system for how many years, being a problem.
That would have been
until
a
they-
great goal to receive from you.
What?
That would have been a great goal to get from you in writing that I asked
well,
for
now
4
we're
months in a
here
row.
talking about it.
But, Mr.
No, but I
Chairman,
need them
Mr.
4
Chairman,
months in a row. Right now, we're gonna address
If we
these.
do goal 1, which is essentially, review, which to me is analysis and realignment, analysis of problems and realignment. I mean, what that means is, again, identifying, and you're identifying a very specific problem. And what we are hoping to find at the end of this analysis is there are gonna be things we can do, that the administrator says we can do. There's gonna be things that we can't do that extend beyond the administration and move into the legislature. But at least we have a handle on it, Andrew, and then it's up to the board to say, okay, here's something that we can't do because we can't just demand that the superintendent do this. Here's something where we're gonna have to basically deal with the legislator. We'll figure it out at that point. But first, we gotta identify the problems. We gotta put them on, literally on a map, with what, and as part of that process, Andrew, what can we do and what can we not do? How do we go about solving each of these? Most of them we can, some of them we can't, and it'll be part of this process, and that's what I'm saying. By the end of this school year, we should have a map of problems, solutions, ownership to solutions, and the management scheme that is gonna handle this. And that'll be huge progress. Even if we don't initiate this stuff, it'll be huge progress, okay? Maybe, and God forbid, I know people don't wanna hear this, but maybe the security part itself becomes, I don't know. School districts outsource some of that. Maybe there are professional organizations that just handle school security, that this is what they do professionally, they do this, and they know the law, and they are accountable, and they are very professional, and it takes it out of the realm of educators you know, and maybe that discussion may come forward out of this. But we have to get there in a very systematic, coolly objective way, and that's what I think board goal number 2 will do, you know? And your concerns absolutely have a place in there, they absolutely do.
Yeah.
I mean, I would just like to comment, everyone knows we've been trying to get these goals wrapped up for months. It's November.
Yeah.
If we continue to push this off month after month, there's no possible way to evaluate the administration on how they've met our goals if we don't provide them with our goals till 2 months before the end of the year. I think every meeting, we talk about high school, the middle school. I think what we tried to do here is reach a more tangible set of goals, not this pie in the sky thing that's really unmeasurable. This is measurable based on exactly, we're focusing in on a certain area, we're gearing the administration to look solely at this area, work for it, strive it. We want to get something done this year, so we're either going to do that or we're going to continue to talk about this every month. So I would like to see the board agree on a goal so we can direct the administration on what we want them to work on this year since it's November.
Anybody have any comments on this? We'll, let's see. If I can get a consensus from everybody, somewhere the week of December 3rd through the 7th, people can check their calendars and get back to me with what's a couple of options. We'll set up a special meeting to go over to finalize board goals.
Well, what, here's my suggestion, and, you know, maybe I was wrong, maybe Fiona's right on this, maybe we do know enough. I think this is still a little maybe there's enough here that we can approve tonight, Mr. Chair, you know, which is what Fiona's saying, and simply at the next board meeting, then, we have, you know, one big agenda item is having the administration roll out how they're, you know what I mean, further discussion, detail on what this is. You know, so that, therefore, we don't have to wait yet another meeting just to approve it. The next meeting can actually be more furthering the specific goals, you know. Do the other people feel that way? So we approve the 3 of the 4 goals tonight?
As opposed to another meeting, yeah, we meet at least enough already. Yeah.
Yeah. All right. Can I make a motion to approve board goals number 1, 2, 4 as presented as our 3 yearly board goals? Does that make sense?
Are we combining 3 in 1? Or are you just eliminating 3?
I just eliminated with the understanding, so that without beating it to death, that what's listed as board goal 3 will be actually part of,
Okay.
you know,
That's part of the
secondary
review.
education analysis, you know,
Yeah.
it's really broad.
Okay.
Yeah. I mean, that's my feeling, I don't know about,
I'll second that.
yeah.
All right, we have a motion by Paul, seconded by John, to approve board goals 1, 2, and 4, and eliminate number 3.
It'll be combined.
Well, it's implied to be in number 1. But if you look at the full alignment and the review of the school, number 3 is going to fall right there. I guess, if I'm right, it's kind of redundant.
Yeah, yeah, I mean, that's my feeling.
All right, discussion on that?
I'm going to vote against it because I don't think that there's any detail to this that is measurable. To just say these things and let the administration come back, they can do a great job or they can do a very minimal job, and I don't know how we're going to say that met or didn't meet the board's goals. I know that we want to do things in a very simplistic manner, and we want to give the administration as much leeway to do whatever they want to do as far as supposedly fulfilling our goals, but it's a time-consuming thing to actually draft goals with substance that you can actually measure, quantify. I don't think these do that. It's the same thing I've seen for the last 5 years. I don't know how it benefits the Board of Education. It's clearly beneficial to the administrators, so I'm going to vote against it. Thank you.
Anyone else have a discussion? All those in favor? Opposed? One opposed, Mr. Mayor. Okay. Number I, 2013-2014 budget calendar. This is put forth to us by the Budget Committee. Would you like to carry this, Mr. Rivera?
Information sharing, I'll only point out that we're spreading out the dates of the budget development process and by the calendar, so we don't have umpteen meetings in 1 month. And that, these are the dates.
Okay. Any discussion on that? Seeing none, we'll move into the action items. Action item A, financial statements. Thank you.
The motion to approve budget report, or the financial report for October.
Second by Ellen. Any discussion? Seeing none, all those in favor? Opposed? It's unanimous. Okay, action item B, Local 1579, Council 4 Memorandum of Understanding.
Is he awake?
Yeah, she's awake. She's stuck in that.
Okay,
Mr. Johnson.
I'll speak for Mr. Tebow, who's not with us this evening. Personnel Committee vetted this MOU that's found in your packet. We were asked to meet with each principal and family resource professional to draft a schedule, making it possible to have office coverage while school is in session by increasing the family resource professionals' work year from 195 to 209 days. The schedules have worked with everyone. We are able to provide coverage as requested by the committee, and the committee recommended bringing this forth to the full board for consideration. You'll notice this agreement would expire on June 30th, 2013. Therefore, we would need to address how we move forward with secretarial coverage in the schools in this year's budget process.
Okay. Did we get a motion to approve this MOU?
So
So moved by Chris. Okay, second by Ellen again. Discussion? Seeing none? Oh, yes.
Just one item. The longevity, is that in the regular contract?
Yes, it is. It's just repeated. It's just from the regular contract.
All those in favor of approving this MOU? All those opposed? Unanimous.
Thank you.
Okay, electric pricing. This again.
our contract for electric supplier expires December 1st, so we need to enter into a new contract. So we solicited bids from 3 suppliers. The information is in front of you in the packet.
No, we have to give the new one, because that was from a week ago.
This is-
No, that's the
Oh,
one you got
sorry.
tonight, everybody else, the one in the packet.
There's a new one going around that's updated because these prices changed as I'm passing this on.
This one.
Paul, did you get one?
Yeah.
Yep. They came over.
The recommendation, which is unanimous coming out of Budget Committee, the motion I would make is to follow administration's advice and enter into a 2-year term with Constellation Supplier. This would result in $142,000 savings over our current costs. The rationale behind taking the 2 years as opposed to the 1, you'll notice that if it were a 1-year contract, immediate savings would be little bit more, about $4,000, but that's speculative. This way we lock in prices to save for the second year, so I would make a motion that we enter a 2-year agreement with Constellation as our supplier for a total savings to the district of $142,000.
Okay. We have a second on that motion. Second by Paul. Discussion.
What does our financial officer think?
These, as Mr. Rivera said, these prices change daily, so tomorrow, the board wanted everything to come through the board for contracts over $10,000. So unfortunately, what you approved tonight will change tomorrow, most likely. Starting this week, they've been rising. A week ago, they were lower, so we need to act. The 2-year agreement isn't tying our hands. We're still looking at alternative energy sources. We're able to do that doing the 2-year contract. There's no limitation within the contract that are gonna tie our hands, so we're good on that aspect. And it's a savings of $142,000.
Good. Aside from cost, are there any other kind of service considerations from this supplier, this vendor? that we
This
have
is our
to-
supplier now, so there.
Oh, this is the current supplier now?
It is.
Oh, you're saying extend, all right. Fine.
Why do these prices, you're looking at budget costs, we're looking at it, from the 7th to the 14th. You've got numbers that increased substantially in 1 week.
It's market rate. It's a stock market. Tomorrow it could be $5. I mean, it's the market.
But then how do you come up with a number that it's 142, because it's 142 compared, because each of them go up proportionately?
Nope, we know how much wattage we use, so we're multiplying the wattage times the price, which is coming up with $142,000 savings. Because up top, you see current price compare, that 554, 576, that's what we currently pay now.
And what was the savings to the district to go with Constellation on November 7th?
$20,000 more.
$20,000 more. So we're going to say, we get these same numbers, we will save $20,000 extra from the November 7th.
No,
No.
we're
Oh,
down
lost.
20,000, we lost 20,000. We would've had $20,000 more of a savings if we voted on this last Wednesday.
And you've been charting this for how long?
Couple months.
And in the last 2 months, so we're at 142 as of today?
Correct.
And what were we at a savings a month ago, 2 months ago?
I don't know off the top of my head. It's a daily rate, it changes every single day.
And
Right.
Mr. Pacetta's been monitoring it, so he's here, maybe he can give an answer.
Wake up, Dave.
Bless you.
Bless you.
We've been watching this since about August, and the lowest rates were actually about 3 weeks ago. Back in August, we were at a savings of about 154,000. I think last week we were at 160,000. So about 3 weeks ago was the low point. Right after the election, we noticed that gas prices started spiking, and that's what's happened. It's going the other direction.
Who advises us on when to purchase?
Well, yeah. In years past, myself, the director of the director of facilities and superintendent made that call. We would watch the market, we can make that call the day of. If it dips, we lock in. Now, we have to come to the full board of anything over $10,000. So, as you know, we only meet once a month, so from last week to this week, we lost 20,000 because we have to get the approval now of the board before we lock in.
But we lost even more from the summer.
Correct.
From the
From
20.
3 weeks ago was the
Oh, when it
lowest.
peaked.
About 3 weeks ago.
It's not that I want to cast any dispersion upon your expertise in this matter. It's something we always go through as a board. But it seems to me that on something like this, and it's obviously probably no one has. What's that?
A crystal ball?
Right, but it seems like there's no one that we would rely on year to year to have some type of track record of.
We have gone with consortium and in hopes that their lock-in price, what they use and what we suggested at the budget committee with Danielle and the superintendent was the fact that we possibly might be able to get a trigger number that the board is comfortable with, that would put us within a range, you know, where the market is in 2 weeks from now. For instance, if you didn't want to be able to lock in tonight, you could give us a range of numbers. You know, I'm not talking about this particular contract, but in the future, if you were to give us a range where the board would be comfortable in, for instance, buying oil for next year. If the market starts at $3 a gallon, and the board says, we'll be comfortable if it goes down to $2.75, and we start to see it lowering down there, we would be able to have a trigger point that we could lock that in without waiting for board approval.
Do we do this with the city?
No,
We've never done this with the city. We do oil with the city.
no.
We don't hardly do anything anymore with the city. We did in the past, quite a while ago, but we haven't been with the city in many years.
This comes up every year. We have better rates.
We're actually
We're good.
we're
Yeah.
the larger, we're the larger end user, so.
We've asked them if they wanted to join us. We can't make them join us. But we have better rates and we're good on our end.
Okay, so that's something the budget committee wants to take on? Being the, you know, setting that by.
But basically, when we see a contract coming close, I think we make the budget committee alert of this, you know, within 6 months before, just so we know where we're all headed. And that way we have a trigger point where, you know, where we can lock in a contract.
Paul, what I plan on doing after this, we approve this, is making a motion that I think will address this concern to have either a percentage, we reach a certain percentage of savings or whatever we determine it to be, but we only meet once a month. It can't continue that we lose $20,000 because we have to meet that one-time amount.
Right. Okay.
All those, yes.
You mentioned that our hands aren't tied. Obviously, I've been a strong proponent of alternative energy. You said our hands aren't tied with this. Does that mean after year one, we don't need to go to the full second year, or?
No, the contract is for 2 years. We'll be locked in for 2 years. What I meant by our hands aren't tied is that our next energy project that we're looking at is solar at Forbes. And the amount of energy that we would consume is much, much less than our contract, so our hands wouldn't be tied in that respect.
That we still have to pay for that same
Right.
amount that we're using this year if we use less electricity next year, because we're generating more through, you know, innovations that we're doing to our buildings.
It's part of, there's a swing clause in the contract that allows us to swing 20% higher or lower on the kilowatt usage that we have. So as Danielle just explained, the superintendent, the amount of kilowatts that we're going to be generating if we do a solar
Right.
project
Right.
will be much less than that 20%
Okay.
swing.
That makes sense. Okay.
So then we don't get like a surcharge because
Just one more, on a 5-year period of high and low, where are these prices at, in that spectrum?
Well, three years ago, we were at the rate you're looking at the top of the page, .094. Prices now are at .0699.
So .094 was the all-time high?
That was not the all-time high. I think we were up at 1.08 at one time. This was back 4 or 5 years ago, when all our electricity bills started escalating.
Right.
You know, we were very high. That's when these contracts started that's when they just started deregulation, I believe, about 4 or 5 years ago, when we could start actually buying this electricity from other suppliers.
And what's been the bottom price in the last 5 years?
I haven't seen it any lower than the .66, somewhere in that area. I haven't seen it much lower than that.
Free? Like Paul says, it's kind of, if you have a crystal ball, we make a good decision. If not, this is the best number today, your recommendation.
Because we run out in the end of this month, I don't know it, but we should wait too much longer. Just the way the gas prices are going, and now they're talking about another storm off the East Coast, and it adds more fuel to the fire.
The contract expires December 1st, correct?
Yes.
So this is the last time to act.
Okay.
Increase of urgency.
All those in favor of this contract? Opposed? Unanimous?
Mr. Chairman, another motion is related to this. And in the unique nature of our energy contracts in general, and that the board has implemented and voted on a directive that we approve any contract over $10,000, I make a motion that administration be able to act independent of board approval with just energy contracts after there is a trigger point of no less than 15% savings. We can discuss that and come up with more comfortable with that, just throw it out there.
Do we have a second?
I have a second.
Let's discuss. Okay. So the motion was made by Chris, seconded by Carl, to set a trigger point. The current motion is set a trigger point of 15%, and administration would be able to lock in an energy contract, 15% savings or more, right?
Yeah, to start the discussion.
Right. Okay. Discussion. John?
No, thank you.
Carl? Vincent? No. Do you want to discuss your motion?
No.
Would you be opposed to a time parameter versus a percentage parameter? I.e., we give the business manager tomorrow to go and lock in. She's given us today's number. Whatever the number is tomorrow is the number is tomorrow. As opposed to giving her, what you're kind of doing with the percentage is now you're kind of giving her a little play to think, well, should I lock in at 2%, 3%, 5%, whatever. It may be a better move for the board, it may not be a better move for the board, for her to play with percentages versus if we're happy with the numbers that were presented today, just as a board saying.
Again, all future contracts.
Yeah,
So
future ones. This
This
one's
would
already
not be
decided.
affected. I'm saying, so.
Okay, she's locking in tomorrow, so you wanted, when
I'm
would
saying
we
for
be doing this again?
Anytime we have oil, natural gas, anything, these are things that in the past, administration just took care of when they found the lowest rate. They watched the market, they chased the bottom of it, and when it was about there, it was locked in. What's happening now is we're wasting months sometimes, and it's costing the district tens of thousands of dollars for them to be hamstrung by our directive. So I'm saying that the directive is inflexible. It needs a little more flex to it.
I mean, I'm opposed to it.
Paul, do you have any discussion?
I don't know, I mean, clearly it's an issue, and we have to find some mechanism for allowing the quick response. What we're looking for is a quick response, because that's the reality. It's a volatile market, a volatile product, and you know, it doesn't follow Board of Education meeting schedule, you know? And so if we want to optimize, maximize savings, we've got to find some mechanism for allowing the administration to jump quickly, and yet have some sort of board oversight. Once again, I'll go to the same place I was slammed before. I would feel comfortable letting our executives make the call. You know, in which case you would need literally 2 people. I mean, if it's a majority vote, you need 2 people going to Mission Avenue and saying, "What do you got?" And they say, "Yeah, do it." We elect board leaders to lead. This is a situation where, you know, executive decisions have to be made quickly.
The only thought I have with it is, we hire administrators and managers to manage. We approve contracts over $10,000. I don't think that we should pigeonhole them on locking a rate. I think if they lock a rate, they should come to us and say, "This is what I got," and then we say, "Okay," or "No." But what we're doing now, I mean, what we've changed on them is, they're coming to us with a series of proposals and we're picking them. I mean, they should, if we're hiring, and I'll pick on you, Danielle, because you're right here, and if I evaluate you, I'm sorry, it's just hypothetical.
I know.
We've hired a business manager to manage our costs. That's the job of that position. So that position should work with the facilities manager and say, okay, diesel fuel's coming in $4.50 a gallon, you buy it at the pump now, $4.34. We can get it right now if we lock in at 3 1/4. I mean, that's a business decision. That really should be made there, and then before the contract can be signed, yes, we have to approve or deny the contract, but the decision of when to lock in, I think, should be the business manager.
Oh, I see what you're saying.
I mean, because you're.
Does the board have the option, though, of backing out of that contract at no cost? Well, once you lock in, you lock in.
But if you have a business manager that routinely makes very bad decisions, I would think that as a board, you would have that business manager very long. I mean, you're saying, you know, you're relying on someone's expertise when you hire them as a business manager to manage those kind of decisions. That's the whole intent of that position. I mean, we do have to approve the contract, but if we keep getting burned on contracts, well, then you have an evaluative tool to say, this is not working out. You know, you're making really bad business decisions, then you should be replaced. But, I mean, in the essence of saving time and money, you know, I personally feel that we once again have micromanaged down to the point that, you know, this is what we hire, you know, I go to any business, this is what you hire somebody to do.
How long do these contracts for? They're all over the place, right? Through the duration. 1 year, 2 year, 3 year.
Okay, Danielle, I'm sorry, you wanted to speak since the beginning.
Possibly a happy medium to everybody. What consortiums do, and a lot of times we go with the consortium because it is the lowest, so it doesn't even have to come before the board. This one, we missed the consortium because we had to come before the board. So that's why we're asking for approval now. What consortiums do, like the one for the diesel, we all meet, all the school districts meet, and they set a price, and it's a range. So possibly, and then when the main person watches the market, when the price falls within that range, they lock. So possibly, what we could do maybe 6 months before a renewal, I can bring prices to the board, we can set that range. So you do have some control, and then once I lock in, I'll bring the final contract forward.
Mr. Chair, I'd like to amend my motion in terms of our business manager, just articulate.
Okay. All right, right, the second on the new amended motion, actually, can we ask Carl to amend his second,
Yes.
so that we have the same?
Yep.
We have, Chris with Carl. All right. Thoughts on that amendment to the motion?
And it's just to clarify, energy contracts.
Right, that's, yeah, that's the only thing that would be a market price, yeah.
Just so everyone's.
Yeah, everything else would be a bid and would come through subcommittees.
And again, my objection is the mechanism in which I think the board should set some mechanism of evaluation with the business manager ahead of her actually consummating the deal. What's the criteria that the board wants to charge her with to purchasing this, besides just giving her the benefit of her wisdom and business expertise to decide that's when the bottom is? And I'm not trying to be facetious or anything. I'm just saying, the board.
The current motion is that she comes forward to us 6 months before a contract is due, and we give her parameters of what we feel is allowable. And then if it falls within that trigger point, she goes, there it is. So we tell her we want to see between $1 and $1.02. And if she wakes up in the morning and she sees $1.01, she locks it. So we've basically given her a defined parameter, and if it falls within that parameter over a 6 month period, she pulls the trigger. It's locked. So we've given her a very strict parameter, and then she has 6 months if it falls within it. If it's never getting close to that, obviously she's gonna have to come back to us and say, you know, prices are going north, not south, we're not gonna see that. But you can't punish a business manager for a market going, if that's.
And that's what I'm trying to say, by having some type of board criteria that business manager would come back and explain the criteria in which we would uniformly do this on a year in and year out basis. It's the formula that we would, as a board, adopt. Then we would give her the decision. When the formula is met or reached, then she can execute the purchase price. But we should have some type of, we, the board, should formulate with the advice and consent of the business manager what that formula should be.
I mean, correct me if I'm wrong, Danielle, but if you're going in with the consortium, then I mean, you're one voice in there, but you can't come to them and say, the board gave me these terms.
Right.
And I understand they're not the consortium's terms,
Mhm.
but I want to tag along anyway. I mean,
If we go with the consortium, what you say more or less doesn't matter, yeah.
Right.
Because that is the bid, if you will. We're locked into the consortium. But what I have the power to do is look at the consortium, but also look at us individually. If we're getting a better rate for the consortium, I'll have that range though from the board. And that range isn't gonna be far from the consortium either, because the market's the market's the market. I mean, it's all, everyone's looking at the same stuff.
But that's what happened. The reason we didn't go with the consortium this year is because when we had these numbers, or earlier numbers, they didn't have theirs yet. We waited 2 weeks for theirs to come in. Then when they came in, they said, you gotta decide tomorrow, or you gotta decide today. And we knew we had to come before the board with the numbers before we could give an answer. And so, you know, they would not wait until after our meeting tonight. And so there's another way of somebody controlling us.
I support the business managers. I mean, again, it's a volatile market, it's a volatile piece of business that we're asking her to do, and I think that provides enough oversight and still the quick response time that, you know, she needs.
Okay. Those in favor with the motion? Aye. Unanimous. Consent agenda.
Do we have any?
It's a short one. Only two things on it. Can I get a motion to approve the consent agenda?
Second.
Who said Chris?
Chris.
Quick. Chris Carl. Discussion? All those in favor? Opposed? Unanimous on the consent agenda. Okay, committee decision on bylaws.
Policy committee was
This
charged,
was added.
Oh, yes,
at
yes,
the
I'm sorry,
beginning.
sorry.
policy committee was charged to take a look at the structuring of our subcommittees. And we decided as a committee that we would continue with our subcommittees as is, but reduce them to 3 members so that we would have a more consistent majority. So a motion was made to recommend to the full board that the bylaws be revised to allow 3-member committees to existing committees.
Okay. Is that a motion?
That's a motion.
Motion by Ellen, second by Chris.
Point of order, Chair. The bylaws call for any change in the bylaws that they be presented at a meeting and then voted at the next meeting. So you can receive them tonight as that change tonight, and by your bylaws, they can't be voted on until next month.
Thank you.
Thank you. So received. The
I want
first
you to
from
break
Ellen
any
and the
laws.
second from Chris have been retracted.
No, he's right.
Very
We're
good.
received.
We're out of order. We're such rebels.
Okay.
Thank you.
Nope, it's gone. No, go ahead.
So, until the next meeting, is everything the way it was before we had this discussion? Because according to our website, they're all junk.
Right.
The what's, oh, the, who's
The
on them?
committees.
Yeah, no, everything's the way it's been.
Okay.
So the website
There'll
will
be changes made once the bylaws, then we'll sort them out. Okay, thank you. Comments for good of the order?
Wait, don't we have to vote?
No.
Don't we have to vote to accept?
Yeah, there's a formal vote to receive.
Okay.
What that means is now the full board owns it, not the
Okay.
subcommittee.
Motion to receive
Technicality, but it has
the comments made by Ellen, second by Chris. All those in favor of receiving? Okay. Now comments for good of the order. John?
No, thank you.
Carl? Vincent? Chris?
Done.
Ellen?
How's that?
Beyond?
I just want to thank all the students that are here doing the video. We're happy to have you. And, glad you guys come forward to do it, and thank you for working with them. We appreciate it.
Okay. Andrew?
When are we planning to discuss our bylaws? Are we planning to discuss our bylaws in the near future?
It's on the policy calendar.
It is.
And when are we discussing the bylaws?
When we can discuss it. We have other things that we need to wind up at our next meeting, possibly looking at.
Because I think the bylaws say one thing, and over the last several years, the chairman and the executive committee seems to have taken on additional powers, which I don't, in reading the bylaws, see the chairman and the executive committee as having. So when do we want to discuss these issues? Oh, I forgot, you're on the executive committee, so.
On the policy chair, we will
Right.
discuss.
When are we going to discuss these potential violations of our own bylaws?
We will discuss the bylaws at our next meeting, probably the following meeting. We have several things that we still need to clean up that are going on in the policy discuss the bylaws, hopefully at the meeting after.
You can discuss violations anytime you want.
Where?
Right now. That's comments for the good of the order.
Oh,
If you want to evaluate someone, you contact before the agenda's set, if there's something you want to see on it, contact us, put it on the agenda, and then off and do it.
There are really issues that need to be discussed line by line, just what the chairman, the executive committee actually thinks their powers are and how they think their powers are derived. Because I don't see some of the actions by the chairman and the executive committee as having those powers. Yeah, over on a 5-year period of being on the board, others, chairmen, have done similar, have acted in a similar manner. So I don't think it's something that is intentionally done by the chairman or the executive committee. I just think that we have to have a closer look at those bylaws and actually analyze how those bylaws are drafted and what the chairman and the executive committee think they're able to actually do. I mean, for example, you tell the administrative assistant, the superintendent, that I can't have a hard copy of the agenda. Where did you get that in the bylaws that you have that?
We weren't going to deliver it to you. You can stop by and pick it up anytime you want.
Oh, that's not what she said. She said.
When they're printed and they're there.
I'm only telling you what she's telling me, and I thought I had it. And I'm just wondering where you as the chairman get, and like, I don't really want to go in with that.
Well, you brought it up.
Okay.
The board voted to not pass out printed copies of the agenda to board members that we were going electronically. It was to save $35,000 to the board.
Be
And
delivered.
what's that?
Be delivered in the old manner in which
It was to cut down on copying costs and delivery, and it was a $35,000 savings
Okay.
done when everybody was given their iPads.
Right.
So in enforcing a board directive of, we're not giving out written copies and we're not delivering them, that would be 100% within the authority of the chair. I mean, that's the job of the chair, is to enforce the board directives, right?
Yeah, I agree with you. I just didn't
But the
realize
board
that
voted
the
on it, so.
board voted that the general public can have a hard copy, but board members can't.
General public gets it when they get here tonight.
And I can't have one when I get here.
You can take one off the pile if you want, but you get it electronically to save money.
And I understand, and I have no problem. But we'll just, you want me to make a more complete list, and we'll just discuss it?
Okay, I'm just saying, if you feel there's a violation, under comments of the good of the order, is your time to bring it up. And we'll discuss anything, you know.
We'll get more precise the next week.
well, there's also, we just approved that as a board goal, so I mean, it's going to be on the agenda soon enough anyway as a board goal, so.
Paul, do you have anything for comment?
No? Oh, yeah, just, well, thanks to the administration and executives for getting us back on Cablevision. I do think, in light of developments the last couple of months, I think this will absolutely help in terms of, I just think it's enormously important. I don't know if I'm saying it, but to let the public see, I mean, the discussions we had tonight, you know, we're so used to having these very detailed, complex, insider discussions about what we do. We forget that the public doesn't know, and they just hear sort of a lot of the surface. They don't, they get to hear us hammer at the details and the complexity of the issues we face on a meeting by meeting basis, and I think that's going to be enormously, I do think it's going to be enormously helpful in terms of just making the public aware of just how complicated some seemingly simple decisions can be in this world that we deal with. So I commend you for finally getting us back online. I'd like to thank, I'd also like to know, are you guys involved in that documentary? Are you all taking that? You are?
Yeah.
Are you guys doing it too?
Civic Life
The
Project.
Civic Life Project?
No, sir.
You're not doing that? No, you're just doing this for this? Okay. All right. Well, good. And hopefully in line with that, I'll hopefully get more students involved in, I'm trying to get these guys Oh, yeah, well, it's for the good of the order, I mean, we have to.
No, she asked me to.
See if you could do, if at some point you evolve into actually doing, set up interviews with our superintendent and chairman, post-meeting, and learn how to I mean, that's all really good stuff for you to learn how to do, and you've got the people here, you've got the time, got the equipment, it would be going forward, you know, but you students should push a little too, okay? Thank you.
What we're hoping to be able to do is to follow our Board of Ed publication, or, you know, live presentation, is to have a tape monthly. We're trying to work it out, see how much it'll be, things that are going on in our schools.
I think
Actually have the kids go in, do it live, then, you know, whether it's an event, whether it's a concern, however they want to do it, it's student-driven on the district, and, you know, what's happening in our schools. And just to give snapshots, yes, but
I'm telling you, you get the After Effects Pro. You get Adobe After Effects. These guys will learn it, and right, and when it's not right, you'll start to see very close to, within a year of these people getting their hands on it, professional-looking stuff coming out of this high school, and it will blow you away what they'll be able to do. And it ain't that expensive. Thank you.
No, wow. Okay, committee reports. Personnel, Daniel's not here. Do you want to tackle it, Bill?
Yeah, sure. You approved the work of the Personnel Committee when we handled the MOU. Recently, we've been looking at monthly attendance reports, tracking all of our staff in terms of absenteeism, drawing some patterns from that, working with the unions, and looking at the taking of attendance at the high school and the process for that, and getting monthly reports on that. So we've been keeping busy. Our next meeting is December 5th.
Okay, school improvement.
Already talked enough, everybody knows, small learning communities is still on the radar, that's what we'll be pushing forward with. And everybody's invited to the next meeting, which is the 28th, as many people as can come. We're gonna look at this, the health services initiative in much more detail, and we'd love to have as many board members come as possible to give us feedback and get up to speed on what we're trying to do here. Thank you.
Okay, budget.
The only thing that's really notable is we received presentations of capital improvement projects that we're looking at and incorporating alternative energy, solar energy in particular, into these capital improvement projects. So right now, we're just receiving information.
Okay. Policy, I know it says no report.
Well, we did meet and we discussed this bylaw change about committees, but also into other policies that we're just wrapping up. Discuss and bringing to the board.
Quiet. Ed Connection update.
Board of Directors meeting for November was on the 1st and was canceled because it was going to be in Danbury, and they didn't have power in that part of Danbury. I went to the Policy Council of the Head Start and Early Head Start programs yesterday morning, 10:15 till about 11:15. And you know, all is well there, you know, a bunch of cute little kids running around and outside the door as we sat around inside and just heard nothing, a couple of reports, etc., but nothing exciting. And we got a report from Ed Connection about the advantage we have taken of the various programs that they offer. And I'm going to sit down with John Costa over there and just go through and write up a brief report, an explanation for that for our next meeting. I promise I won't take long with it.
Okay. All right, it's not on here, but then you have an update on your fitness
Yeah,
wellness program?
we're pretty close to a finalized rough draft of our policy. We're PTO tomorrow, just as soon as we get more. Monday. I'm sorry, that's right, Monday.
Okay. All right, items for upcoming agenda. We'll have financial statements, committee reports, Board of Education goals as an action item, alternative education, we did Board of Ed. It's not waiting for this. Alternative education for THS, library and textbooks, legal costs, settlement that Andrew asked for. We'll have the financial information on the legal fees. And we should be done with our first quarter of, we said we were gonna do attendance and discipline in quarter blocks, so we should be able to do September, October, November, the December meeting. Future meetings, personnel, December 5th.
Excuse me, Mr. Chairman. Ellen also has-
Can we add the committee recommendation regarding bylaws as an action item for next meeting?
Yes.
In keeping with the earlier discussion about board goal setting, and in line with what Andrew was asking for, I'd like to see follow-up on these goals with more detail. You know, the pre and post assessment, the kinds of things he was asking for, what are the actual metrics that we're going to apply?
We're going to measure the success of the
Yes,
result.
correct. And then number two, this is me, I don't know how the rest of the board feels. Alternative ed, THS. My feeling is I would like to, this to me again is a function or follows on our discussion analysis of the high school itself. I'm just very, I know we need to address the needs of these kids, but I'm also very philosophically opposed to multiple kinds of curriculum and alternative this and alternative that within our schools. I think that becomes part.
The alternative name is being taken in the wrong context. It's options for education for THS. It's talking about, it's your healthcare.
Oh, that's what those are.
It's
Okay.
alternative means of education.
Oh, okay, so
It's not meant
continuation
as a.
Okay,
like an
I thought once
alternative
again this was
school
another
concept.
alternative school, we're gonna be
No.
looking
So
at
alternative's
buildings
a bad
and
word.
second set of administrators and.
We'll put options in.
Thank you, okay. As long as it's
Sorry.
in line with that first board goal.
Yeah, it's actually what board goal 3 was, where it said expanding
Okay.
on the healthcare thing that school improvement's looking at and the technology and.
Yeah, okay.
All right. Sorry, you were gonna say something. Okay.
Oh, wait, you also wanted,
Go to the order. City Views is going to feature the Board of Education this coming week on cable vision. FYI, so people can watch it and call.
Oh, on the 20th, yes.
19th, Tuesday, whatever they
Mr.
do.
Slavy's desperate.
Next Tuesday.
Next Tuesday. No.
It's gonna be you, you can be on it?
okay.
Oh.
19th or what?
Yeah,
It's Tuesday.
Uh-oh.
It's Tuesday the 20th.
Tuesday the 20th.
Tuesday the 20th from 7 to 8, right?
Thank you.
Yes. Yes, anything that we pushed, we're going, well, this is just general items for upcoming agendas. We'll also have the Board of Ed piece for next month. Okay, personnel, December 5th. Budget, December 5th. Regular board meeting will be December 12th. School improvement will be November 28th, and policy will be November 28th. Agenda item number 11, motion for adjournment. Ellen, second. Carl, in favor? Opposed? Abstentions?